Hey everybody, welcome back to Cosplay University. I am Adonis Cosplay. Today we are going over how to make an Anbu Vest. So I've done Anbu Kakashi in the past, and today I wanted to kind of show you how I made that cosplay. So we're going to be doing the vest and probably the armor at the end as well, the forearm guards. Pretty simple stuff, basic sewing skills needed, but other than that, we'll get started. We're using some gray, non-stretch fabric just because it's the lightest gray I could find. It's most accurate to the manga and the anime. So, having said that, let's make our pattern. Let's go. The first step is to draw out your patterns. Sizing is going to be different for each person, but essentially what you want to do is fold your fabric in half so you have 4 layers. And then we're going to fold it down the middle and cut out straight across, and then our armhole right here and across the neck. So for me, the neck is going to be about 8 inches from end to end, so 4 right down the middle, and then the point right here for the arm is about 6 inches lower than the chest. So it goes 6 inches down and then all the way over across. These measurements will be posted on the screen, so it's basically across your chest, across your waist, and then the top one is across your mid-chest. So this is around your bust, this is across your mid-chest. Once your pattern's drawn out, you can go ahead and fold it on the middle line, pin it both sides together, and then we'll cut it out. Okay everybody, so once you have your fabric cut out, you should have 4 layers. You can go ahead and unfold it and it should look just like the front of the Anbu vest. What we're going to do is we're going to take 2 of those layers, lay them together, and then sew around the edges. All of the edges except for the very bottom. So we'll go ahead and pin this and we'll get both sewn. So remember, you're taking 2 layers, sewing them together, and then doing the same with the other 2 layers. Okay guys, so we just finished sewing the front and back pieces together, and by that I mean the 2 front and the 2 back, sewing those together. So you should have 2 things that look just like this. Here, bam. So if you hold it out all the way, this is like the front chest piece underneath the arm, and you should have 2 of these. So what you're going to do now is you're going to turn these inside out, and we're going to take some quilt batting, we're going to cut it out in the shape of this piece, 2 of those, stuff them inside, and then we will sew the front and the back together. So this stuff is pretty great. It's thin, let me read it to you guys. 1.83 meters by 2.29 meters of quilt batting, and it's 72 inches by 90 inches. And let's see, I'm pretty sure this stuff is like half an inch thick, but it's batting, so it just has a lot of give. But this will give your vest some puff and some support. It'll keep you warm in the winter, and it'll keep you real hot in the summer. So make sure that you understand what kind of cosplay you're getting into, because this stuff gets pretty warm. It's meant for quilts. Cut this out, and we will put it inside each of the front and back of our vest. Okay guys, so we have our batting cut out. Looks like this. It's the exact same shape as our vest pieces. I have 2 layers here, one for the front and one for the back. But what you want to remember is you want to cut it just a little bit on the inside of the actual chest pieces. That way it will fit. So you'll have some extra fabric on the inside, and that's going to prevent the quilt batting from fitting if it's the exact same size as this. So cut it in a little bit, and then you can put the batting in here. We're going to do that for both, and then we will pin and get ready to sew these 2 together. Okay guys, so we are done with both of our vests, the front and the back piece. Now we're going to work on sewing them together on the sides. But before we do that, we have to kind of know how the order of operations goes. So I'm actually adding a zipper to one of the sides of the vest. This is what the zipper looks like right here. It's just a white zipper. It's the closest color I could find to this gray. It looks better than an actual gray zipper, because the gray zippers that they had at the store were way too dark. So we're just using a white one, and you'll only be able to see about this much of the zipper anyway, so should work out. But this zipper is 16 inches long, and that means that we want from under our arm down to the bottom of the actual vest needs to be 16 inches. Right now, I think it's just a little bit over 16 inches from that part all the way down. But what we're going to do is we're going to, and it sounds kind of funny, but we're going to add more fabric to the vest, and I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to add a strip of fabric at the bottom, and that's going to be the bottom ring of the vest. Now, how we're going to make this work is we're going to lay our zipper out from the corner all the way down, and then we're going to figure out where this needs to attach. So we're going to do this the same way we did this, 2 layers with batting in the middle, and then we're just going to sew it along the bottom here, 1 on each side, and then we'll sew the whole thing together. But we'll get to that in a second. So again, however long the zipper is, it's laid out from the corner down. Now I'm going to add the bottom ring so that it lines up with the bottom of the zipper. So this will actually end up going roughly right here. That way, these will line up, and then I will sew this to this right along this line here. But first we're going to make this the same way we made this, but instead of putting 1 layer of batting, this is a little bit thicker, so we're going to probably just do 2 layers in the middle of this, and then we'll get to sewing these together. Okay guys, so as you can see, we have the lower ring of the vest pinned onto, this is the back side of the vest here. So basically what we did was I laid out how long this needed to be on the vest. So again, from like underneath the arm to the bottom of your waist, pretty much how we're doing it. That's 16 inches. And then I pinned this on here. So it's going to be, this is the top, or this is underneath the arm, this is the bottom of the vest. This equals out to be that 16 inches. It's actually a little bit longer. I wanted it to kind of overhang on the zipper, so it comes out to maybe about right there on each side. But this way, the zipper will have something to grab onto, and we won't be cutting anything off. So it'll look pretty good. We're going to stitch this on both sides. So this is just one side of, this is just like the front, basically. We're going to be doing this the front and the back, and then we will sew only one side together, front and back. And I'll show you why we're doing that later, because we need to put the zipper on. So, sew these together, and then we'll go ahead and sew the front and the back together on one side only. Okay guys, so as you can see, we have our bottom ring sewed on here. This is what it looks like from the outside. This is what it looks like on the inside. If you want to, which I probably will, I'll go ahead and do a zigzag stitch along this seam right here on the inside to, you know, finish the seam, kind of give it more of a clean look and just more professionalism in your craftsmanship. You don't have to do that. If I mean, no one's really going to see it aside from you, and it'll give it a little bit of structural support, but that's a personal opinion. I'll probably go ahead and do that. But what I went ahead and did was I sewed the two front pieces, the front and back piece together. So that's this seam right here. And I did my best to line up this and this at the bottom and this at the top. I think it looked pretty good. And it really helps having a pattern and cutting them out evenly in the beginning. So these are all lined up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take one half of the zipper, sew it on this side, take the other half of the zipper, sew it on this side over here, and then we can zip them up and it'll be one big tube. This will be really nice, really easy to get on and off, and it'll make adding all the detail work onto this way easier than if you just sew these together, which I've done that before. It's doable. If you guys don't want to use a zipper, you can just sew this other side and slip it over your head, but it has to be big enough to fit over your head. So zipper makes it a whole lot easier. We have switched over to a zipper foot. Basically what that means is it's a foot for your sewing machine that has a little bit more space on the side. So right here, it's closer to the needle, and this will allow you to sew your zipper. You'll see what I mean when I start sewing the zipper for the vest here, but basically this will help us get a closer stitch to the zipper. Now mine has two sides. You can put it on either the left or the right side depending on what you're sewing. I'm putting it over here because we're sewing the zipper on this side. That's what you want to do. You don't want the zipper to go underneath the foot. The idea is for the zipper to stay on the outside here. So this is how we've lined it up, and we're just going to pin the zipper to the vest like we would and sew it on. Okay guys, the next bit we're working on is the straps that go over the shoulders for the Anbu Vest. Basically, you're going to cut out 4 rectangles, this is 2 layers, and then sew them together on the sides, and then do exactly what we did with the vest. You're going to stuff them with 1 layer of quilt batting, and then we will sew them on to the actual vest itself. I have the other one made already, well, sewn. So we're going to turn this inside out and then stuff it with quilt batting. You can probably get rid of this excess. Just so you guys know, if you want to know dimensions, from seam to seam it's 2 inches, edge to edge is 3 inches. I just allow myself ½ inch for seam allowance. If you're skilled, you can do less. I could usually do less, but I just always have more seams just in case something goes wrong. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to get this one sewn, and then we'll stuff these with quilt batting and attach them to the vest itself. So the vest has a lot of detailed line work that goes around the edge. Just to show you a quick example, this is just a straight seam that I sewed through each side. But there's about a 3/4 inch line that goes around the top and all the way on both sides, and then one straight line that goes from right here down to here. So this is on both sides. So just sew these in and then mirror it on the other side. You have all the details ready to go. We're about to attach the straps, and then we'll do the little loops at the end. Alright, we are down to the final details for this vest. The last things that we have to do are to add on the squares here, and then the loops down a little bit lower that go kind of around the bottom of the front and back of the vest. So for these, the straps are just sewn on underneath here, so just sew those on first where you want them to go. They're at a little bit of an angle, so that's how we sewed both of these on. And then I made these squares already. As you can see, I just cut and folded and then sewed them down, so they were already pre-sewn, so you don't have to deal with that with pinning it. And then you can just place them over and sew directly over top of the lines that you're already sewn on, that are already sewn on the square. So do that for both here on each side, and then you're going to repeat the process for the other end of the strap on the back side. In order to make the little loops that go around the front and back of the vest here, we're going to take, this is like a 4x6 square of our fabric, you're going to sew it together here and then turn it inside out, and you'll get a little loop that looks like this. And then we're going to sew this one end down, pull this over, and then sew the other end down. So yeah, it'll look like this. It's pinned on right now, I have to sew this on, but it is at an angle going out away from the vest on each side, so this will be facing this way. And I think it's a little bit less of an angle. It's probably like this as opposed to here. Just look at reference photos and pick your angle and then pin it, and then I would sew it afterwards. It's kind of difficult to sew the second one. The first one's pretty easy because you can just lift this up and sew straight across, but when you have to fold it under and pin, you're going to have to really get that foot underneath here, or you could hand sew it. So those are your 2 options there. But these will go just like this on either side, about this high off the vest. So once you have those done, then the vest is pretty much finished. We will show you what the end result looks like. One more note for these is you want to have it long enough that there's some space in here because these kind of puff off the vest. You don't want them flat down like this. Alright, let's do it. Okay guys, jumping in on the arm guards, we're going to kind of cover all of this at once, so bear with me here. I have cut out 2 pieces of, this is 5mm foam, smaller down here, I think this is about 3 inches, maybe 4 inches at the top, something like that. But basically this is slightly longer than my forearm, so from my wrist, my elbow ends about right here, and the rest of it hangs off the end. But this is going to be the base of our arm guards. Next to that I have some fabric. We're going to basically do what we did the whole project. So the ends, turn it inside out, stuff this in there. You're going to leave the back end open, so the one that goes past your elbow, that's the one that you're going to leave open, and we will sew that over later. For the straps, we're going to move on to this part. I have 4 longer straps. This is like 3mm foam, and it's only slightly longer than this one. And the sizes of the straps are going to depend on the size of your wrist, so you're going to have to measure that one out for yourself. I have 2 front and backs for each of these straps. Obviously 2 small ones and 2 big ones go on each forearm, so we have to make 4 of each. This is some white Velcro. This is the soft part and the sticky part. On 2 sides of the straps you're going to sew the soft part of the Velcro, and on the other 2 will be the sticky part. But what you need to focus on is you're not actually sewing it to both layers. You're going to have to take one layer off, sew the Velcro on, turn it over, and then sew
the two layers together. So we'll demonstrate how this actually looks for each of these. You're going to repeat that process for all of the straps. That way they can stick together once they're sewn.
We are finished with the Anbu Vest and the arm guards. So good job, guys. If you finished, if you made it this far, congratulations, you have made it into the Anbu Black Ops. So your vest should look a little something like this. It's a little bit hard to see, but you can tell we did all the work that we worked on earlier. We have our detail lines, we have our patches sewn on each side with the shoulders. We have one side stitched together, the other side has the zipper, and then the big ring at the bottom with, of course, our loops. And then the arm guards strapped together. You have one strap for your wrist, one strap for your forearm. This part goes to your wrist, this part goes past your elbow, and then it's sewn over the back right there. So, awesome work on that one, guys. I hope you learned something in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.